Happy Saturday, everybody. I'm going to show you some awesome pentatonic tricks and different pentatonic scales you can use. This is going to go from easy to complicated, but I will be there every step of the way. So let's get started. This first example we are going to talk about is just using a minor pentatonic scale over a minor 7 chord. Nothing crazy here, just to introduce you to what the sound is. And I really want you to pay attention to the sound of these scales over our progression. We're going to use the same progression. C minor 7 for 2 bars, F minor 7 for 2 bars, and we're going to keep it simple with that. So let's hear this first example. I'm going to set up a loop on my new Eros looper, and then we'll show the example. So that's a very inside sound. The scale goes perfectly with the chord. Nothing surprising there. Next up, this is going to be our level 2. We're going to start to superimpose other pentatonic scales over this progression. The first one is playing a minor pentatonic from a fifth above the root. And we're going to think about all these new scales in relation to the chord. So instead of using C minor pentatonic over C minor 7, we're going to use G minor 7 pentatonic over C minor 7. That's really cool because it gives us the ninth with the D of G minor pentatonic. Okay, so that is using G minor pentatonic over the C minor portion and then going into F minor pentatonic for the F minor portion. Now let's see, what does it sound like if we use the minor pentatonic up a fifth for both of the chords. So we're going to do G minor pentatonic for C minor and C minor pentatonic for F minor. What this also means is you could just do C minor pentatonic for both chords if you wanted, and it would still work and sound pretty good. So let's hear example 3. Minor pentatonic up a fifth, that is our level 2. And now we're going to look at level 3, which is using a minor pentatonic from a whole step above our root. So for C minor, that means we're going to go to D minor pentatonic. This one's a little bit harder to use effectively. I'll show you a couple tricks. It gives us the 9th, the 11th, the 6th. That's the tricky one to use, but really nice. And it also gives us the 5th and the root. So let's take a look at what this sounds like. This is example 4. So the main trick to make these different pentatonics work as substitutions for just using the root minor pentatonic is either using a half-step voice leading to connect from one pentatonic to the other, or using a common tone, so a note that both scales share. And in this example, we're using that half-step motion to lead in from the E flat of C minor into the D of the D minor pentatonic. And then the common tone in this next section is C, which is part of our D minor pentatonic, and also F minor pentatonic, which I'm going into. So you always want to make sure that there's that half-step motion to connect them, or a common tone between them in the transition point between the different minor pentatonics. That's what will keep your use of these different pentatonics sounding good. The last one that's really cool is making use of an enclosure type of sound by taking 2 notes from one pentatonic to enclose a note in your upcoming pentatonic. So I'm going to show you an example of that. This is going to be example 5. So in this case, we have that little enclosure of the A and the G of D minor pentatonic leads us directly into A flat for our F minor pentatonic. So that's a great little trick. Without it, these will sound a little strange. I really like this one with the whole step up. It gives a sort of lift to the sound. It's very clear that you're using a different kind of sound over C minor as opposed to G minor, which sounds nice, but it could just sound like you're using notes from C Dorian and playing off of that. The D minor is clearly a different pentatonic sound that we're using over that. As you get some more practice with this, you can start to change between the two pentatonics every couple of beats. So we can go C minor, D minor, C minor, D minor, and then to our F minor when that chord comes. So they don't have to be full measures of each of these pentatonics to work. I'll give you an example of that right now. For this next level, we are going to take it up a notch. This time we're going to talk about what's known as sidestepping, or sometimes side slipping. And this is a pretty simple concept, but it's a little tricky to implement. And this is just the idea that we take a minor pentatonic we normally would use, like C minor over C minor, and we're going to also play up a half step, so like C sharp minor pentatonic. And we go up there to create some tension, and then we come back down, usually. You can also do this from a half step below. We'll look at some of those examples soon, but first just half step above. A lot of guys are very famous for doing this, McCoy Tyner being one of the main ones, among other different pentatonic type of tricks, like some of the ones we just talked about. The reason this one's a little bit trickier is the notes we're using are not diatonic to the chord we're playing over, so it's going to create a lot of tension. That is the point of it, and you have to be effective at using what we talked about with half-step voice leading to go back into your key, your C minor in this case. So let's look at that example. Quick little tip here, again, using a common tone to connect our C sharp minor and F minor is really important here as one way of doing that. And the note I like to use for that is the G sharp of the C sharp minor pentatonic is also a flat for our F minor pentatonic. So that makes a good connection point between those two scales and makes it seem less like we're jumping to a random key. It should be pretty obvious though when I'm switching to C sharp minor pentatonic, because it totally takes us out of C minor, but we resolve in quickly with F minor. For this example, we're going to switch in 2-beat increments, C minor, 2 beats of C sharp, and then right back to C minor, and then we'll go to F minor. Let's take a look at that. One thing that's important when you're switching every 2 beats is you want the line to feel like it has a sense of direction. So you'll notice I start with this, B flat, B for C sharp minor, and then C of C minor. So our ear can latch onto the fact that we're going, and so that sense of direction allows for the fact that we're taking a pentatonic that's totally outside of the key. C minor, C sharp minor, it resolves right there. So it's a quick tension, quick release. It's all about the tension and the release, and these other pentatonics create that tension for us. For example 9, let's look at using a pentatonic from a half step below. So we're going to do C minor and then B minor pentatonic, resolving back to C minor. Some of the same stuff applies. We're going to use a half step resolution to go from our B minor back into C minor. For this next example, we are going to take a pentatonic by superimposing another 2-5-1 progression within this progression we're working on. So we have C minor, and we're going to imagine like our next 2 chords are B flat minor, E flat 7, back into F minor. And this B flat minor, E flat 7 is sometimes known as a backdoor 2-5. And if you guys want me to talk more about that, I can. Just let me know in the comments below. And you guys can also let me know in the comments below which of these different minor pentatonics is the most interesting sound to you, and if there's any that you'd like me to go more in depth on. Okay, so let me play the example here. This time we're going to be using notes from B flat minor pentatonic on that section of C minor, that second measure of C minor. So let's take a look at that. Quick pro tip right here. One of the other things that makes this sound really good is I'm using a lot of sequences and patterns. So you'll notice these little very pentatonic type of patterns. That is a really great way to make all of this work as well, beyond just our voice leading by half step and our common tones. Our last level here is using minor pentatonics from minor thirds away. There's a lot of theory here that I won't get into, but I can if you guys are interested. Just let me know in the comments if you guys want me to. And for this, we're going to use C minor for C minor, also then E flat minor, also F sharp minor or G flat minor, and then also A minor pentatonic. You don't have to use all of these. You could use some of these. It all works. As we do it, it creates a lot of tension and gives us some points to resolve for our F minor. I have a couple examples here because it is kind of a tricky sound to get right. And again, you guys can check those in the PDF below and download that. It's a free PDF, 3 pages. It'll really help you out. All right, so let's look at these last couple of examples. A couple real quick pro tips for you for sticking around. So the first one is that this ties in really well with the picking that I've talked about because of pentatonic shapes on guitar tend to be 2 notes per string. So all of this should line up very evenly, and you'll really not have to have any of these other tricks in your picking to adjust to. So it works great with the picking I've talked about previously. The last tip I have for you is to play around with where you're starting these patterns rhythmically. Instead of starting on the downbeat like I am in a lot of these examples, for clarity, you can start on upbeats and then mix around. You don't necessarily have to end exactly where the chord changes to switch your pentatonic scale you're using. So a lot of times there will be overlap, anticipation, and delayed resolution. Make use of that, especially at a higher tempo. Don't feel like you have to nail this exactly on the beat when the chord changes. That's not really exactly how it's done. So for this last example, we are going to do minor pentatonics from minor thirds away for C minor and also for our F minor. That is it for the lesson, guys. Thanks for sticking around till the end. You can check out all the links in the description for more cool stuff or watch any of these videos for more content, and I will see you next Saturday. Thanks, guys. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe if you are not already. Thanks. What are you guys doing here? Go practice. The video's over. It's done. I'm not even in focus. Go. Bye. Like, you can leave. Bye.